What's up, everyone? Welcome back at the Artist Coaching Podcast. And as mentioned previously in the episode last week, I promised another guest in the episode this week, and we have him here, a very special guest this time. Henry, what's up, man?
What's going on, Joey? How you doing, bro?
All good, man. I'm a bit brain fogged by the day, but yeah, it's it's morning in your place, right? It's
Yeah,
LA.
man, I'm fresh. I just had my coffee. I'm ready.
Oh man, it's 4 o'clock here. Like my brain is fried.
That's like the time of the day where it gets fried, like 3 to 4. You're like,
Yeah, Wednesday is always my. I'm writing a new book, and so Wednesday morning is always my writing time.
what's the
And
book
writing,
about? You gotta tell us what the book is about.
yeah, sure. Like I'm actually writing it in public, so you can already read it if you want in the Discord.
Oh, cool.
But I wrote the first book was about like my story as an artist, as a DJ, of starting in the bedroom and ending at main stages, and how I eventually ended my career. And this is the follow-up book, which is like the years after, as in how I rebuilt my life and managed to build a boring life, as I like to call it.
No, that's cool, man. I
Um,
love that.
yeah, so it's more about like how to build structure in life, finding out what's really important, and like all those things. There's probably a lot of things that you feel a connection with as well.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
how was it for you? Because we briefly talked about it, about like the big EDM boom back in 2014 ish. You were also a big part of that. Can you tell us a bit more about that, or how you got to that stage?
Yeah, that was a fun era of music, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just like a local club DJ in my hometown, and I was in Orlando, Florida, and I think it was about 2010. Started DJing with a couple of my friends, and we started a club night, like an event, little event company, and we were just like, hey, let's do the first dance music event at my college. My college was pretty big too. My college, it's called the University of Central Florida, UCF. And so
Yeah.
Orlando, Florida is a pretty big city. It's not too big. Like it's not like a New York or LA, but it's pretty big in Florida. And we started the first dance music event that was close to the college at one of the college bars.
Yeah. Because dance music, for reference, wasn't that big yet, right? In the
No, it was
States.
right before it started to take off.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
2010, obviously we were listening to some of the music in Europe, and then some of the guys in the US had some like really cool parties. Like Steve Aoki was doing a party in
Mm.
Hollywood called Demock Tuesdays. And,
Mm.
they were just, the sound in the US at the time was like, we call it blog house now, but it was kind of like that
Yeah.
indie electro mix, like, the
Yeah.
A-Track Headswell Roll remix, stuff like that. So that was kind of
I
the
think
sound
I
then.
believe Luke is kind of
Yes,
coining
Luke.
that whole term, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So like a lot of laid back Luke stuff, A-Track, that era, Crookers. That's kind of, we
Yeah.
were trying to play that more like electro sound. And so, yeah, we did a whole party on that. And then the party ended up blowing up. And me and my friends, we couldn't believe it. We were just local DJs, and we just all kind of learning how to produce at the same time. And then the party just kind of carried our careers to the next level. And then from there, we learned how to produce,
Oh
um,
wow.
learned how to play in clubs, just promoting that event. And we just learned the whole music business just in one go. Like when you do an event, there's just so many business things that you learn from doing an event. So we just, through that one event, just starting it from scratch, knowing nothing, to running it for like almost 3 years, we're just like, you get a crash course in like on the music business and life.
Yep.
Almost, it's a business. So yeah, we took that, and then all of us packed it up, and the club actually went out of relocated, but they kind of went out of business for like a year, and then they relocated, and then after the club closed, our night was over, and we're like, what are we going to do? So we all just moved to LA.
Oh really?
Yeah.
And then started continuing building on your career.
Yeah, and then funny, I moved to LA, and then I just didn't know anybody, and so for 6 months I sat around. I think my first job when I moved to LA was I was serving acai bowls on the college campus with my friend
Oh
because I
really?
needed a job. So I was doing that, and then I was making music, and I think the first record I got signed was actually to Revealed. Finally, they checked a demo email.
Oh yeah.
I made a song with one of my friends, and then I made it on a compilation in 2013, and that was the first
Hmm.
record I ever got signed. And then after that, it was just a nice string of releases for the next 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, a decent career came from that, right? Like
Yeah,
you're still active, right? As a DJ and producer.
yeah, very active, especially
Yeah.
in especially in the U.S. I tour mainly in the U.S. still, but
Okay.
yeah,
Is there a specific reason for that, or?
it's just kind of where I set roots, you know, like I think my strongest market in touring is like Southern California. Like there's just so many cities to play in California. It's really
Yeah,
convenient because I live here, but like, you know, you have LA is such a big dance music market. There's so many people that live here. Then you
yeah,
have Orange County and you have San Diego. Then you know, even if you go up north, you have San Francisco, and there's all these little cities around there, Sacramento, you
yeah.
know, San Jose, you name it. You,
There's enough to do there.
yeah, there's just so many
And
cities to play there.
it's still like, are you still playing EDM today?
I would say it's more like bass house sound. I think you could call it. So I've
Hmm.
been a pretty multi-genre DJ most of my career, but I would say like right now I'm playing like a nice variety of stuff. But
Okay.
I'd say the most of my bigger records the last couple of years, people know me for like, you know, the collab with my collab with Knock 2. It's called What's the
Hmm.
Move. It's more bass house, and then I have like a faster tempo house sound. Everybody's calling it speed house. So you
Speed house.
can call it speed
It's just
house if you want.
those terms get invented by the second, right? It's insane how many of the subgenres are existing these days.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a couple guys making that sound in like 2018, 2019, and then in 2019 I had a song called Rave Tool, which kind of became one of the songs in the genre. I guess you could say it's a very niche genre, but
Yeah,
yeah. So I say I'm playing. You know, it's basically bass house centric. I play a little hard techno and 150 BPM. I love playing hard stuff. Uh,
yeah,
Play a little like UKG stuff in there too, mix it up. But I'm pretty multi-genre. You know, if you go on my Instagram, I have this reel, and then it says it kind of went viral, and it says how many genres in a Henry Fong set, and
yeah.
it
I
just kind of
checked
shows
it.
me playing through everything. So
Yeah, it's fun. Smart move actually to give people an idea of what you represent, right? So it's
yeah,
an instant idea of what they get when they come to your shows, for example.
yeah, totally.
If you because I know how it was to build a career back in the days, social media was just at the verge of breaking through, as in 2010 when you started. Was that Instagram already or just Facebook?
When I started, it was
Yeah,
just Facebook, and
Facebook, right?
then
Yeah,
yeah, and then Instagram maybe like t- right at the start of 2013, 2012, somewhere around there. I think Instagram came into the
yeah,
picture, but I remember like, as you remember too, like a lot of the artists when we first started promoting our stuff on social media was just Facebook. So everybody was like just
yeah,
posting to Facebook, trying to build their Facebook pages.
yeah. True, and that's where a lot of like organic reach was as
Oh
well.
yeah, you could crush. You could.
Was still a thing.
Do you remember like people would like post memes just on Facebook just to get reach, and then you like promote your song after you post like a meme?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I I always talk about this moment, like same for you on Revealed, like when Hardwell or Revealed posted something on Facebook and they tagged you, you just got like thousands of new followers instantly.
But
So
that was
like
the only way that you could get followers back in the day because
exactly.
there was no global algorithm that could show you to a bunch of
No.
people. So do you remember? Like I remember too. One time I had a release on Tiesto's label, Musical Freedom, in like
Yeah.
2014 or something, and they went to go tag me, and they tagged the wrong Henry Fong, and I missed out on like
Oh,
thousands of followers because that was the only way that
yeah.
you could get followers is you had to have another page tag you. So that's so
Yeah.
funny. It changed a lot,
That was the nightmare. If the label tagged the wrong
and you
account,
couldn't edit the posts.
exactly, that was the nightmare of every artist, especially when you have like a high profile release. Oh man. Yeah. Instant anxiety when that happens.
It's interesting though what you're talking about is like going through what it's like being a DJ then to now and having to
Yeah.
change along the way everything because I think our generation of DJs say from 2010s to now is like we're the first generation of DJs that had didn't have social media really when we started
Yeah.
to having to do it all in the same time frame as you're like figuring
Yeah.
everything out. So
Yeah, true. And how was that for you? As in, I kind of checked out around 2015. That's when I stopped playing. So for me, that's where my career ended. But how did that work for you? Because you kind of needed to reinvent yourself, right? You needed to find a different way to promote your music and reach people. And
I had no problems, man, because I was always a marketing guy first. When I started that event that I was just talking about with my friends, I was the guy that was passing out the flyers, and then I was the guy that was running the Facebook ads and things like that. We did run some Facebook ads for this event, and I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was. always marketing. I was like a little marketing business first, and then I learned how to DJ music, DJ and produce later.
Yeah.
So the whole time in my career, like I used to, one of my first jobs too in college, my internship, I used to work for a Mercedes-Benz dealership, and I would run their social media page. I would run their Facebook page. So I was doing
Ah,
social media, I think, as my job before, and it was kind of just my strength. So when I saw everything go through the years and all the social media change, like the mentality is just like, okay, you see something new changing in the media landscape, is like you just got to adapt it fast and figure it out and do it. So that was
yeah,
kind of like, that's really one of the only thing that's I think helped me get through the 2020 phase. The 2020 phase is kind of like, that's the cutoff line where it's the old music business, I think, versus the new music business is 2020,
yeah.
right? Because that's
That's
when,
where the rules changed.
yeah, that's where the rules change. That's where everything
Yeah,
changed. So when I saw that happen, to me, it was like, oh, I got to figure this out all over again. And and so I had to like learn content creation and learn how to edit properly and learn how to post on these like reels and TikToks and things like that.
yeah,
So, but yeah, I think it's important though for new artists that you need to separate the old music industry versus the new music industry. And it starts at 2020, in my opinion.
yeah,
And not only the media changed at 2020, people underestimate how much like the oversaturated now the streaming platforms are. So if you
hmm,
notice, if you put out music before 2020, right, it was pretty easy to get streams. Like you could just
yeah.
be like a pretty medium-sized artist and you could put out a song, and then somehow you check it like a year later and it has like 2 million streams because it's in the algorithm or whatever, right? You're like, oh, cool.
Get picked up. Yeah,
So in my opinion, post 2020, if you actually, I saw some sort of statistic that said the number of ISR, you know how when you release a song you get that ISRC code or whatever,
yeah.
the number of registered ISRC codes, 2020 versus previously, it's like increased by like, 500-600% or something like that. And
Wow.
so the amount of independent musicians now that are uploading music to these streaming platforms is so high. And so that's also part of, quote unquote, the new music industry post 2020, is
Yeah,
that oversaturation with it too. So you'll notice like getting 500,000 streams is the same as trying to get like a million streams pre 2020, in my opinion. Like it
yeah,
was a lot easier to get these streams, and it's just the oversaturation of like people want to become independent musicians. It's one of the greatest jobs ever.
true.
So people are realizing all these tools out here where you can easily upload your music, like DistroKid or whatever. And so there's just so many people putting music out on these platforms. There's so many people uploading content, and so the competition for the eyeballs has really increased a lot too. And so that's
Yeah,
something to think about too when you're thinking about the new music industry versus the old way.
yeah. And I think one of the other things that also came to play, which is something we have to deal with today, is that even when you get the streams, even if you manage to get the millions of streams, people don't know who you are
Yeah.
because they listen to playlist and they're listening to music passively. So now you have the streams, you think you're there, but you don't have the brand, right? So it's a combination of getting reach, but also maintaining that audience and bringing them into the brand and getting them to know you as an artist and as a person. But it's hard to transition people from Spotify or Apple Music to your socials where you are actually telling your story.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's almost like they kind of keep it that way as well too, because they want everybody on
Yeah,
those. They like to keep everybody on those platforms. Like you don't really get much fan. Like you can see where your streams are coming from and certain insights and things like that, but you can't even talk to your fans on there. Nothing. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, it's like they purposely leave it like that, like it's just like a what do you call it? Like a walled garden,
Like, what if you could
you know?
message your Spotify fans that listen to your music?
Oh,
Like
dude,
that would
that's
be
insane.
crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, but how do you deal with that? Because I talked to a lot of those artists, and some of them managed to finally break through that first barrier of at least having an audience, right? So maybe having hundreds of thousands or maybe millions of streams, but no gigs. So how do you manage that in these times?
So I think part of it is figuring out how you're going to stand out in an oversaturated market, especially now. Like you still had to do this before, but to me, like it was really easy to stand out before. Like I feel like sonically, like I just like you
Hmm.
just had to have like a couple things different about the music in a different lane with the music. And now it's like you kind of have to have everything really super dialed in. Like the music and the brand have to be like
Yeah.
so thought out and very high quality. Like all your assets now have to be so good.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's also part of the deal, as in the skill of music production has become less relevant as well because it became so much easier to make decent music.
it's so easy
That
to make music now.
yeah, that putting out a good song is just isn't good enough. Like
Yeah,
there's more to do.
yeah. It's funny because like you have stuff like Splice, which has been great, but at the same time, like everybody has access to the same samples and everybody's using the same samples, and
Yeah,
you can just get all these like crazy melody loops, and you just have to have some basic production skills and some arrangements, and you can make some pretty good sounding beats. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
using samples is totally fine, but like as long as you can just like drag them in, arrange them, and you got some basic production skills, it's like you can make a decent sounding beat very easy. Whereas back in the day, it's like 2010, 2009, it's like no way, like you didn't have access to that type of
yeah,
those high quality of samples
yeah.
and some of the
And
things
so the
now. So
and so the skill back then, so making a decent sounding track was a skill on itself. So just releasing a good song was already something that set you apart from a lot of other artists out there, which weren't able to do that. But now, like everybody's able to do that. So how do you stand out in a market where everybody is able to make at least decent sounding music? Um, yeah, how do you stand out?
you just have to have a sound with the music, man. You just have to be ahead of it. Like in my opinion, like the most important thing was like when you're writing these music, like writing these songs, is just like it's about the idea of the song. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I feel like a song should have a concept and it should be based around an idea almost. And I feel like you know what I mean? Like if you have like a genre of music, like let's say you just like house music, right? It's like there's a particular sound with that. It's like, okay, but maybe I have the house music sound that has these particular reggae samples in it, right? And I now
Yeah,
have my own version of that and I make house music with these type of samples and now it's slightly left of what everybody else is doing and I think just making slight little adjustments like that in the music and kind of trying to position your music in its own lane is important. And like a lot of people, like that's obvious. Like everybody knows they need to have their own sound, right? But it's so simple. It's actually more simple than you think to get your own sound because
yeah.
there's something called the law. Like in marketing, there's something called the law of category.
Hmm.
And in the law of category, it's like the first one to a new category is usually the dominant leader, and you'll find that in dance music, especially. I mean, any music for that matter. It's like a lot of these artists that invent their own category usually are very very dominant and usually have really really long successful careers like
Yeah.
somebody is a good example like that is like Rez, right? Rez had this mid-tempo electro sound, right?
Hmm.
Just some small adjustments in the music. It was like electro house and then you slow it down 10 bpms and all of a sudden it's this like new category, right?
Yeah.
And if it's like if you say mid-tempo, if you say like mid-tempo music, mid-tempo electro, mid-tempo dance music, Rez is the top of the category. She's the dominant category leader if when that sound comes up, right? And so that
Yeah.
just shows you just make a slight adjustment in the music, you put it left of center, and you are the dominant category leader, and it's like dude, you're going to have a good career. And so
Yeah.
I mean the same goes for like we could run that over with like every genre. It's like if I tell you a specific genre, there's going to be two or three guys that come to top of mind that are just like absolutely rule that category. So I think it's important. That's an important thing to figure out with the
Yeah.
music is like how it can become its own category.
And I think we've talked about it in the podcast as well a lot. Actually, it's about like building your own niche.
Yeah.
As in, I think that is becoming more and more important these days. That in a world where everything is available, you want to build your own little corner where you, as you mentioned, like you slightly do something different. And last week, though, we saw a clip from Afrojack where he explained it pretty well, to be honest. Where he said like, if you want to build a career as an artist, you need to look at the industry and you need to look at what's available and what works, like which formulas work already. Take that and implement like 20% of your own into that. Like change it and adapt it a little bit to your own. It's like you said as well.
Yeah, that's good.
And then
I love that.
yeah, and then you create like your own little thing, but it is proven to work because the formula works. It's already proven. It's just that you adapted it slightly to your own taste, to your own sound.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like coming up with your own signature sound or whatever your own lane. It really doesn't have to be that different, and
Yeah,
honestly, it shouldn't be that different anyways. Because like I forget, there's another thing in marketing too where people say like, what's the best balance of something, and it's like to like go viral, and it's like a viral idea. It's like it's something that's familiar but different at the same time, and
yeah,
it's like familiar but different, and you just try to like feel around in that area, and I think that's a
yeah.
good zone.
I think that's why bootlegs work so well,
Yeah,
because it's familiar. You know the song, you know the lyrics. It's just different, as a
yeah, it
different
was a new
entity.
version.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that this is also where David Guetta played a very good game, especially back in the in the past few years. He always kind of took a familiar melody, but wrote a different lyric to it, right? So subconsciously you recognized it, but you couldn't really figure out what it was. And then when you start really thinking about it, it's like, oh, it's that. It's actually the melody from that song, but with a new lyric. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
super smart move.
yeah, he did those like interpolations on on some really like good samples. Like some of the, I think it was like the I'm Blue one. Remember he did that I'm
Yeah,
Blue one like 2 years ago.
blue, da ba dee da ba
He's
da.
like
Exactly,
crushed it. You know.
exactly. Like that's the exact formula. Like you recognize it, but it's different. Like that's a good one to mention. Exactly. Um. So that's things from the music side, but I do see that the content side of things has increased insanely as well, right? So back then you tried to post maybe what once, twice a week, um, and now it's like almost every day, maybe even a couple of times a day, and that exhausts artists. To be honest, like what I get a lot is that a lot of artists tell me like I feel like a content creator over being an artist. How do you look at that challenge, as in like do you see a world where you are able to build your brand and show your music to an audience without constantly creating content?
Unfortunately, not really. So the way like I think about it is that just having good music now is the barrier to entry to enter the game, right? Or to enter the
Yeah,
profession, right? So like before, it's like that wasn't just the only, like that was kind of just the thing is like okay, you just make music, right? But now it's like to get into the doors, you have to have a certain quality of music even to begin
yeah.
with, to start with. So that's just the
Like
barrier to entry now.
that sounds depressing,
I
but yeah,
I know you have
I
to have really
agree.
good music now, but it's like
Yeah,
very
I agree.
competitive now, and so that's just the barrier to entry. And then you get into the game, and now it's like, okay, now who has a really good brand and who can stay really consistent and make really engaging content on social media that can build a fan base. So unfortunately, that's what it's like, and that's just how it is. So I think something that can help artists like not burn out on it is like you just have to have either delegate and have a good team around you, like a video editor. Like for example, it's like I have a guy that edits my YouTubes, right? It's like I'll
Hmm.
make YouTube sometimes, and I don't sit there and learn how to edit my YouTube videos and how to do motion graphics and stuff. I could if I wanted to, but it's like no, I delegate that, pass that off. Somebody edits my YouTubes. I edit my
Yeah,
short form stuff, but then I have videographers too that I work with and stuff too. So like I think part of that is establishing a team of people around you the same way that like artists get managers and they get agents and stuff, and it's like these people helping you with social media now are eventually going to be like the new parts of the team. Like
hmm,
you need a guy that can help, that you can pass things off to, that you can edit. And any business running a business today has some sort of social media editor and stuff. So that can be you if you want it
exactly.
to be you, if you're good at that and you feel like doing that. But if you don't want to do that, you have to figure out a way to develop a workflow and delegate with those certain people. And I think that's
Yeah,
the key right now if you feel burnout on social media, is that.
yeah, true. I truly agree with the fact that, especially like what I notice as well, is most artists don't understand the fact that they run a business.
Yeah, it's a business
They're
for
like,
sure.
it's just like they say, like, no, it's just music. Like, no, the minute you decide you want to make money from this, you enter the music industry. Now it's your job. Now it's a business, and you need to make different decisions, as you mentioned, like having people doing different tasks for you. The problem that I get a lot as well is that this works. I agree if you have the funds to pay for those people. How would this work for an aspiring artist who also needs to put out all that content in order to build his career or her career, and doesn't have the funds or maybe even time because they have a full-time job or study or whatever? How would you look at that?
I think you just find a friend that you can grow with, right? So like you don't need
Mm.
fancy camera gear or anything these days. It's like all you really need is iPhone content. So just find like a
Yeah,
fun friend that just like wants to like you can find a friend that like wants to just bounce around with you and go to some shows with you and film you for fun.
yeah,
Like you can find that. Like your friend's like, "Oh yeah, bro, I'll
yeah.
come to your show and I'll
I'll
shoot
join.
iPhone content for you." But
I'll drink your rider.
here's a new like thing that I know people are doing. Like some of the top artists, like I just found out the other day, what they're purposely doing is some of these big artists is they hire young Gen Z content
Hmm.
creators and they come with them on tour and they're only filming iPhone content. So these young Gen Z iPhone creators will go with these big A-list artists on tour and they'll film every aspect of their day. You know, they're walking through the casino in Vegas on the way to the gig and they're talking and then they play the gig and then they hop on the jet. The content creators going everywhere with them and then they take that iPhone B-roll footage and they make these kind of just like fun, funny lifestyle
Yeah,
reels and content for Instagram. So it's more that now versus the professional videographer setting everything up all the time. So I
yeah,
think that can help some of the younger artists because you can still get really engaging viral stuff just from iPhone B-roll stuff. So I would suggest to just have a friend that can just like maybe sometimes it's your girlfriend or boyfriend, right? They can come like my girlfriend films me all the time on the iPhone and I use that
yeah,
footage all the time. One of my best videos, she filmed me in the car and it has like 930,000 views on it or something. And it was just her filming me in the car, right? And it's
yeah,
like I didn't pay anything for that.
yeah. Exactly. Did you had a friend like that, like the two guys you did the party with, or did
Yeah.
you had someone joining you in the early phase as well?
Yeah, we had a guy that took photos every week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we actually paid him too. Um, we had two guys. We had this girl Lexi, and then we had another guy, and we had people come cover the event with photos. And back in the day, that's how we did it. We just covered it with
Yeah.
photos. But
Photos was enough.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I used to have a guy like that as well. It became one of my friends eventually, and now I tend to call him my unpaid therapist. Like, uh, looking in hindsight, like he was one of my like guys I constantly talked with because you spend so much time together because you tour, you're in the car, you're in the plane. Like, there's so much time to kill that you like back then you wouldn't have to create that amount of content, but now you could use that time to actually create some footage, right?
totally.
Um,
Another option
and it's
too is you can also like what I'll do on tour sometimes too is like I don't bring a videographer to every show. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense, or the show's like in a smaller city or something, and I just film everything on my iPhone, get all the B-roll, and so like me getting on the plane, me getting to the hotel, blah 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 blah, and
yeah,
50% of the time I don't even use it, and then sometimes I just take this B-roll and then I come back and I sit there and I'm like, okay, cool, and then I just like I can make a reel out of it.
yeah,
And then now what some people can do now is you can go film all the B-roll on your iPhone, and then you can have an editor remote, and then you just send them all the footage and be like, hey, make some reels out of this. Boom, that's it.
yeah,
That's kind of what I would
yeah,
suggest to do at this point.
yeah. The bar of entry of content production has become a lot lower lately, especially with all those AI tools that can help you with creating reels and stuff. Like the bar of entry has become so low. You just need an iPhone or another type of phone with a good camera, and that's it. You have an internet connection, you have socials. Let's go. And even when you talk about socials, I also think that even now, the time of building a career might have become even easier because the whole algorithm thing's changed from being focusing on followers towards like interests, right? So right now you are able to, without having any followers, still reach a lot of people if the content is good.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I've had plenty of friends that just be able to post one song and it changes. They post one song on one video and it just totally changes their life. And it's like,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
it's there's pros and cons to the old way, and then there's pros and cons to the new ways too. But like,
Yeah.
if you were to tell us like back in 2010, oh, you can just like get really good at making content and you can blow your career up overnight, like we'd be like, yeah,
Wow.
give us
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But then
Exactly.
it comes at a cost, right? It's very competitive and you got to stay really consistent and your output has to be really high and you
Yeah.
have to really figure this out. So there's
True.
pros and cons to both, but I think right now it's pretty cool because you don't have like you can be nobody and you can be in your bedroom and you just film one video and your career changes overnight. And we've seen it
Yeah,
happen
that's
how
it.
many different times. A lot of these new artists blowing up. Like somebody's a good example is like Disco Lines. It's like Disco Lines had a viral song in like 2020, 2021. It was that baby song. And he was like in
Hmm.
the airport and he's filming his laptop in the airport and the song blows up.
That's
And
it.
now look at him. He's crushing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. And as you said, like if you would have told us that in 2010, like
We would have
it was a
changed
no
places immediately if we had
it
that.
was a no brainer.
Yeah.
It was a no brainer. And the same thing for self releasing your music, for example. That's also one of those things that became so easy over the years.
Yeah.
And back then, you were relying on labels so much. Like I don't necessarily see those things as a bad thing. I see them as a great thing, right? Like it's a great option to have. Now you don't rely on other people anymore. It's just you. It's just your input, your discipline. No one else.
Totally. I work and coach artists as well too. And I when I'm like mentoring them, some of them come to me and then some of them are doing the post 2020 music business model and then
Yeah,
some of
yeah,
them are doing the pre 2020. They'll come to me like, "Hey, we need to get these records signed to these labels and do this and that." And then some other artists are coming to me, they're like, "Hey, yo, here's my social media post ready to go for the new releases." You know what I mean? And it's two different
yeah,
mindsets. So when people are thinking about it, like if you've been producing long before 2020, you might have part of your mentality on how you're like rolling out your artist project like the pre 2020 model. And so I think it's
yeah.
important
True.
to again make that differentiation and change to the times, because your strategy doesn't have to revolve around releasing on the big labels. Does it help? Absolutely, it helps to release on the big labels. But something else to consider with that is the labels that really move the needle on your career right now. It's a very small amount of labels that
Yeah,
can really have that power. Like you remember back in like 2013, like a Spinnin' Records release, psh,
done.
like huge,
Yeah,
absolutely game changing for your career. The,
yeah,
the version of that now is like a John Summit Experts Only release. Psh, you know what I mean? That's career
yeah,
that can change your career and launch your career now,
yeah.
right? So that changes with the times as well too. And so it's not that's like fluid, and you got to be aware of that as well.
Yeah, true. If you look at your own career, because you kind of, just as I have, like you have both of those worlds pretty clearly in your mind, what changed and you've adapted clearly. What's one of the ingredients you have, which now looking back in hindsight was kind of a key to your success?
I mean, at the end of the day, I still think you have to be making, really great quality tunes. And so I think like one of the things that's really helped over the years is to just be like every couple of years, like getting that song that like DJs are playing in their sets everywhere.
Yeah,
It happened back in the day, like 2013, 2014, had a bunch of songs that DJs were playing in their sets. And then I kind of went through a period after like the golden era was dying and like new things were changing. And I was like, oh my God, I got to figure out my new sound. What am I doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then I think in 2019, I got another one of those songs, and Skrillex and DJ Snake and all these guys were playing it. Okay, I did it again there. And then 2021, I had the collab with Knock 2, and then another crew of DJs started playing that. So I think the main thing is just being able to consistently make quality club music that DJs play in their sets, and that get widely supported. It's like that never really goes out of style, in my opinion.
yeah,
And I would
true.
I would really credit that. Um, that's just kind of like I feel like my strength as a producer, anyways. Like I'm not like I can like barely play the piano, man. Like I have like very bad sense of like I can't like sit there and play melodies and things like that in that sense. I like draw the
Yeah,
notes in, like very basic, but like somehow it's like my strength is like more focusing on just making club weapons that DJs are really able to play that have a lot of energy that go off. So I just
yeah,
focus on that, and that's I feel like why I started producing dance music. So I just try to stick to that.
yeah. Smart move, at least I think. What are your thoughts on consistency in genre? Because what I get a lot as well is that artists tell me like I like to make any kind of music, different kinds of music. How important is it to be consistent with what you put out?
I think these days it's more important, and same thing. I have a lot of like artists that I mentor come to me, and they have this thing, and I said, look, I think the most important thing is to leave. We need to like develop a plan, on the sound, develop a plan with the brand, and we need to run that out over a long enough period of time and stay consistent with that. In my opinion, the magic window for that is like probably about a year or two, right?
Yeah.
If it's not working after a year or two, we can go back to the drawing board. You can pivot the sound
Yeah.
and change with that, right? But it's going to take about almost 2 years of a consistent sound to really start uh, developing a fan base for that, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for a number of reasons. I think that dance music is very segmented right now, and there's fans of every genre. Like, there's drum and bass parties popping up in Los Angeles, which is, that's crazy, which is cool.
Never happened before.
There's hard techno parties here. There's like every subgenre that you could ever want in dance music is like there's a party in Los Angeles for it right now, right? But the same thing like out in the general as a listener, it's like you can listen to any genre, and there's just so many fans of so many different genres, I think, right now. Whereas in 2010 to 2013, it was just like, here's EDM and everybody's having a good time, and we're just kind of experimenting with this new kind of EDM sound at that point. And to me, the EDM sound back then was a little more, you could kind of just do whatever you wanted, and it was new. People were just like kind of trying new things. It was new.
Yeah.
I just remember a point, like I'm sure you remember, like, do you remember the point when like dubstep got really popular? All the main stage DJs were dropping dubstep in their set for like 2 years. It's
Exactly.
like you could mess around and you could do things like that, and it was like fun. And now it's like you got to be a little more specific with your sound from the start, because I think fans are like imagine you walked into the mall and you go shop at your favorite store that you like for clothes, right? And then you walk in the store one day and the clothes look totally different. You're like, what the hell? You're going to be a little upset, right? And so I think from a fan perspective, that can happen sometimes too. But yeah, back to what I was saying, like a good example of somebody that I think did this perfect was somebody like Maddox, right? So Maddox, he's known as like one of the top techno DJs almost.
Now he is.
Yeah, he's like considered techno. Like he did an incredible job. But like when he made that transition, which like we know because we were like revealed artists, like we know when he made that transition from big room to techno, that took about a 2 year period of being very consistent, wiping the slate clean, staying consistent. This is the sound. This is the music. This is the new brand, and seeing that through. It's not like he just made one techno record and was like, yeah, I'm techno now, and things popped off. Like he did that so seamlessly. And then not only that did he stay consistent, the records were just awesome. The brand reflected the new music as well too. And so that's somebody who did it perfect. So that's why do you think it's important to stay consistent with the sound, to see it through? Yeah, you got to see it through for a consistent enough time period, I think, to really develop that loyal fan base for the new sound, if you're doing that.
Yeah, true. Maddox is a great example. Do you remember Frankie Rizardo?
Oh yeah, man.
He also did a move like that. I'm not sure if you're aware, but it's a few years back. He started off being an EDM DJ as well, right? Like doing a lot with Hardwell and like being part of that whole Dutch movement back in the days. And then at some point, he kind of vanished, as in, like he starts releasing. You didn't hear anything from him anymore. Like I actually thought he quit music. And then exactly just as Maddox, like a couple of years later, he started putting out like tech house songs consistently. And now he managed to build his own like label / community / platform. And at least here in the Netherlands, and I think on Ibiza and stuff as well, he just sells out venues with his own label, with his own brand.
Yeah, man, he's crushing. He's doing. What's interesting too is like a lot of people don't realize this. The early a lot of the very, very early revealed music and a lot of Hardwell's early releases, it was like tech house. It was very techy.
I was a tech house guy.
Yeah, it wasn't like what people consider the modern style of tech house. The tech house back then, it was kind of like this, kind of like it had a little bit of progressive sound to it. I don't know how you would describe it to somebody, but like if you go back and listen to like music from 2010, even go listen to like some of the stuff the Swedish House Mafia was playing in their set in like late 2000s, 2010, 2011, it was very techy. So before Big Room became Big Room, it was kind of that as well too. So it's funny to see that it like came around to, like, again, I think people should go listen to some of the old Hardwell records and they'll be like, oh, okay, I get it.
Exactly. Like, oh, that's where he comes from.
Yeah.
Like I put together a playlist like that. You probably don't know those parties. Like, do you know Sneakers and Opus Dope?
Oh yeah, Sneakers is dope. The label?
Yeah, like sneakers was like pre-spinning,
Mhm.
so the early days of spinning, and they hosted parties in the Netherlands as well. That's where all those guys played, and I played there as well. But that area was insane, as in that era was insane, as in there was so much. If you look back at it now and listen to those songs, like there's so much creativity in there,
Yeah, there's some good songs
and
on that label. I love that label.
yeah, and like so much trial and error, and trying new stuff and see what works and what doesn't. And what I really like is that Luke is kind of taking that era and reinventing it into Blockhouse, as in yeah,
Y-
adding the latest sounds, the more no, well, better sounds eventually to those old creative ideas.
Yeah, I love Luke, man. We actually just worked together. We had a song. The first song I put out this year was with Luke,
Nice.
and like we had, it was like I felt like it was long overdue to work with him, but I never got to work with him during the golden era. And I've been a huge fan, and he's been like an inspiration of mine for a long time. And then it just circled back around, and we got linked up through our label Dimmock, and
Yeah,
yeah, we just worked together. And we made a song and worked at the studio with him. Man, I learned a lot. He's such an OG, man. He's got such a good
yeah,
ear.
he's definitely an OG. Like there's so much knowledge in that man. It's insane. True. Um, yeah, I think that's it from my end, man. Like, unless there's something else you wanna leave us with.
Not really, man. I'm just you know I got a couple things that I'm super excited about. I started a new event actually,
Oh,
which
really?
is cool. Yeah, I started a new event. It's called Henry Fong's Night Market. So I'm pretty hyped about
Okay.
that and building that
And
concept out.
what's the idea behind it?
So I feel like where we're at right now in dance music. I just feel like community is like these artists that can build community. That's just like an important part. You need to be developing something for the fans that they can be a part of. And I was just thinking of like what's my version of that, and like what can I do to develop a community. So that was the first thing, and so I kind of came up with this idea. I was like, what if we set up like little Asian style mini night markets before some of the
Yeah.
shows. And I was like super inspired by touring in Asia. I've toured in Asia a lot over the years, and so I thought about like some of the night markets I went to over there, especially like some of the ones in Taiwan are just like amazing. And
Hmm.
I'm half Asian too, so it kind of worked out perfect. And so I like thought about it, and I'm like, before I had a big headline show in LA, and I was like, hey guys, what if I have this idea? What if we did this? What if we took on the patio and we set up, decorate it like an Asian night market, and we have Asian food vendors come, we eat outside, and then we go in and play, and then I go in and play the show. I'll pick the lineup I'll like hand curate the lineup so
Yeah.
it all feels authentic. And people were like, I don't know if we can pull this off, but let's try. And then so we did the first one in LA, I think, in last August, and I got Vietnamese pho place to cater it.
Yeah.
And then my aunt, who's Filipino, she made a classic Filipino dish that everybody eats. It's called pancit noodles. I don't know if you've ever had
Yeah.
it. It's
Pancit noodles? No, I don't think so. Sorry, I just have to turn off the alarm back home because it's somebody entered. It's probably my mom.
oh, someone's coming in the house.
Yeah, it's probably my mom. She doesn't realize it. Yeah, there we go. Sorry.
Yeah, so then we got my aunt to make some pancit noodles, which is a Filipino. It's a classic Filipino noodle chicken dish.
Hmm.
Really good. There's some vegetables in it too, and we brought that and we announced the show as like, hey, this is like a full cultural food and music experience. And yeah, the first one went over so good, man. We like I it was probably like ticket wise, it was probably one of my best shows that I've had
Wow.
in 10 years or something like that. And I was like, whoa, I was like, this concept, like people seem to really be liking this. So
Yeah.
we did it again on Lunar New Year, on the Chinese
Oh,
Lunar New
yeah.
Year in OC. And we did it. We did it again, and people loved it again. Event sold out. We were like, "Whoa!" So
And do you start those evenings earlier, as in around dinner time, or?
yeah, so we just encourage people to come at doors, right? So we're like, "Hey, if you want food, we have a limited amount of food, right? So you need to. So we encourage people to like line up before doors. So usually the doors open at 10. So we have
Okay.
everybody get there at like 9:30. The doors open, and you eat from like 10 to 11.
Okay, and then enter the club.
Yeah, into the club. And for the
Okay.
first couple events, I just took care of the food for everybody. I sorted the food out for everybody and gave everybody the food too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're excited to just basically kind of expand this concept. And so we're gonna try to do another one in a really cool location. Can't say where yet, but we're gonna try to announce that in the fall. And then I have an EP coming out too. That's just the Night Market EP. So
Oh,
that
nice.
branding will kind of like align with some of the music that I'm playing at these nights and things like that. So
Cool.
yeah, excited, man. That's kind of the next phase.
Yeah, it sounds like you know how marketing works, as in you know how to brand everything properly and to yeah, to market things properly. So I'm very curious to see where that's going. But I really like the idea, especially because it's very authentic. I'm a big fan of
Yeah.
making things authentic and making keeping things close to yourself. And that's what this is all about. So I'm very curious to see the videos of it.
Yeah, man, totally. It's like also too you learn a lot of mistakes from just like doing this for a long time. It's like I learned so many mistakes where I didn't brand things properly or market myself correctly, and I there's
Yeah.
like things that I didn't take advantage of that I should be doing, or I was trying to do other things that weren't really me, and now it's like this is me. I'm like an Asian food fanatic. I eat it all the time. You know, it's like it's just so natural to me to
Yeah.
do an event like this, and it like took me like years to figure that out. So
Yeah, but I think it might also have a bit to do with the fact that you're getting older. At least that's what I'm realizing as well. Because
yeah,
when you get a little bit older, you just start to figure out more about who you are as a person as well, and the things that you really appreciate and the things you don't appreciate. So yeah, it's just super important to stick close to those things. And as an artist, I think it's very smart to tap into those things and double dive deep on it. You know, like go all in on those weird little things that you think are normal, but it's not normal to anyone to everyone else, right?
yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, I love that,
Cool.
man.
Looking forward to watching those videos. For now, thanks for taking the time to doing this, man. I think there's a lot of value here for every person listening. So yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for doing this.
Right on, Joey. Thank you. Appreciate it, bro.